Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Masterclass Theatre. My name's Dave Guest. I have the job of guiding people through these sessions in which we're going to look at various issues affecting the coach and bus industry. And you don't really need me to tell you the coach industry is currently attracting significant interest from private equity firms, business groups and others. With the recent launch of the UK's largest coach company, valuable insights have been gained into the advantages and challenges of consolidation. This trend is expected to shape the industry significantly in the coming years. So during this session, James Howell, Director of Don't Travel Empty, will deliver crucial strategies for operators, whether they're considering selling or preparing for the impact of competitors being acquired by large groups. James has been in the coach travel industry for 15 years. He was recently instrumental in establishing the Coach Travel Group, an innovative consolidation of 7 of the UK's leading regional coach operators. Please make him feel very welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just really, firstly, just to add sort of a little bit of a background to give an understanding of where I've come from. So not only been in the coaching industry for the last 15, 16 years, I've also actually involved in other businesses, which has been seeing other things in consolidation, but more importantly in that, seeing business change. And business change, as we all know, if we came here 15 years ago, the first time I came, looking at the stands now compared to what they are today is massively different. So many more technology stands, so much more diversity, and more importantly, optimization. And as I go through a couple of slides, you'll see why that is relevant to what's going on in the market today. The market today is changing. And with us or without us is going to be effect to actually what's going on. So if we look at what's happened in recent years, it is quite massive. For those who survived COVID, and a lot didn't, there was a lot of changes. And when we came out of the industry, we're talking about 25% of the industry disappearing, as we all know. With those 25%, it laid opportunities for others. So other operators, you could argue, a lot survived and thrived in later years because of the benefits of that surplus of work and a shortage. But as you see some of these things on here, these have been real challenges. So we all know on a day-to-day basis, PSVR, cost of vehicles going up. Some of those vehicles going up literally £100,000 in the last 2 or 3 years. And more important to that, the shortage of vehicles. So we're trying to actually put any certainty into our business. It's become very much harder to do than what it was previously. So continuous over all the time, different pressures, regulations which, if you like, weren't there pre-COVID, and they're changing. We now got a new change of government. Are those regulations going to get tougher, or are they going to be easier to actually absorb? Logically speaking, from previous governments, they're probably likely to be tougher than what we've got at the present moment. Interest in taxes is a recent one, which we've all got to deal with. And in the coach industry, it seemed that it's been forgotten. That interest, with some of the operators I know, will make the difference between them making a profit or actually making no money at all. So when we're talking about tax rises, it's an easy thing, but we actually look at the operators, how that affects them, and how they stay in business or not. These are some of the decisions which actually can affect their viability and where they want to actually go. And from our side, literally standing outside of this, within Don't Travel Empty's perspective, is you see all the changes going on. One of the biggest changes I've seen, and this is what drove our reason to actually set up the Coach Travel Group, was the lack of succession. And within the industry, you had a lot of businesses which are family-owned businesses, 100-year-old businesses, very, very quality, top, brilliant businesses out there that they didn't have the succession in place. Some of them did, but some of them did. They decided that son or daughter did no longer want to be in the coaching industry. They felt, from their perspective, do you know what? I've seen dad, mum in that business, giving it their soul, and we don't want to be there any longer. So because of that, they decided, well, what can we do? And for those fortunate ones, or those ones who decided, and some of those names which you may be familiar with, which were in the Coach Travel Group, you're talking about businesses that have been in business over 100 years. And very, very well known and very well established. To think that they would actually move on. But if you look at the drivers behind that, one of the operators shared with me, said, well, my son's in the city, my daughter's in the theatre, they have no interest in my business. It's a second generation business, and what am I going to do? You know, I'm now of an age, I've had enough. I don't want to be here any longer. Yeah, I haven't got anything as a legacy to pass on. The legacy of the brand, and I want that to be there because it's my family's brand, but I don't necessarily want to be in this industry any longer, which is actually quite sad. Now, the challenge of that is, where do people go? So what we've got and we see a lot is this Kubler-Ross change curve in this industry, and we've seen so much change. And we see the fact that the first thing, we got denial that things are going on. That people, that the industry is not going through this consolidation. If you look at literally every other industry in the country, there's been consolidation. And funny enough, the coach industry, we can say the bus industry had previously, but the coach industry hasn't really, until recently, got into consolidation. So what we've got now is we've got that denial thing, especially if you happen to be, unfortunately, you're an operator that's your local competitor's being acquired. Because your local competitor gets acquired, surprise, surprise, they're going to be more aggressive, more competitive, and dare I say it, for some, not all, more professional. So when they tender for the local council work, they'll be very used to tendering for big contracts. They'll actually be slicker. They'll have a very smart marketing presentation. They'll actually know how to deal with stakeholder management and actually know who to speak to. So, if you like, one of the things when people are considering, and when we're in a denial stage, nothing's going to change, is, unfortunately, as Einstein said, you know, one thing is certainty, and certainty is change. So what we're going to get is a bit of confusion, and people get confused what to do next. They think, well, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? Do I grow? Do I invest? As we know with the vehicles and the prices of the vehicles today, it is not cheap to grow and buy new vehicles. What do we do? So we get this confusion part, and we've seen that very much on our journey. I'm not sure, how is it going to do? Is the legacy going to be protected? Is it not? What's going to happen to my staff? Things of this nature. Our business has been here for hundreds of years, etc. We then get a anger because some people are thinking, well, hold it, I've done all this for years and years and years, to the extent now it's going to be gone. And my identity is my business. This is who I am. And that's a sense of, for a lot of people, of sort of a loss. But more importantly, people get angry about it because they think, hold it, I've done this, but my daughter's not interested in the business. Crikey, I've done it for her. She could have a wonderful life. And in fact, she's not interested, which I have heard and experienced. As we go through this, we get people going, well, do you know what? The market's going to change and this is what's going to happen. So let's get on with it. We can choose what to do. We can choose to either do nothing, stay as we are, operate as we are, and hope that nothing's going to be affected, but I can assure you it probably will be. Or we can do something about it and either look to invest or move forward, or actually take some new opportunities, look how we're going to move with a business, or decide to go on the sale route of selling your business and moving on. And at the moment, the activity in the market in that space, I can assure you, is absolutely huge compared to what it was 2 years ago. If you look how many businesses are seen, are sold, just look at Route 1, you'll see, and the other magazines, you'll see how often you'll see a well-known business has been around a long time, suddenly it's been taken over by either First Group or somebody else within the business. And this change, this is what's going on, and continuously. I never thought that Go Ahead would buy them. I never thought they would do this. And then suddenly on our doorstep, these are the things that's going on. So where people are going to be looking and researching, more importantly through this, what do we do? Do we do something about it? Because the most important thing to that is you've got to have information. If you're going to go for a change, i.e. sell your business, you need to be informed. You've got to have professional advice, you've got to have preparation. And one of the things I can assure you, we'll touch on takeaways, but one of the things I absolutely guarantee, if you do not prepare, that will reflect as a clear correlation between preparation and what you'll get as a deal at the end. The more you're in preparation mode, the better price you'll get at the end. The less preparation you have as your business, the likelihood is you won't get the best possible deal. So if you do decide to go down that road, please take my word for it. And that's free advice. Preparation, preparation, preparation. Because, the process is not an easy process. So what happened to this industry? Well, as you know, this is just a few companies that have just disappeared. These companies here, been in business, majority of them, and that list, to be quite frank, could be another 50, 100 actual names on here. Some of those businesses have been around for 100 years. Some of those companies actually are running fleets of over 100 vehicles. So not insubstantial businesses. And they just one day decided, you know what, we've had enough, we're going to pack up. If we get anything for our vehicles, brilliant. But if we don't, oh well, we'll hopefully get market price. And those businesses have disappeared. And you see them and hear them on a, if you like, not so often in the news, because they just disappear. You may hear of an auction. That's all you hear about. And the great shame of that, those businesses are really good business. Some are really good business and well-established businesses. But they're just not prepared to actually move their business on or look to evolve, or they haven't got any opportunity to evolve within their structure. And we talked about the point previously, which was succession. They haven't actually considered that succession piece. So when we go through this, for me, it's a great shame for having lots of more people on this list, because they're not getting what they've done for this blood, sweat, and years of service to the industry. They're not getting the best out of what they've done. So to have a list on here which is double this, triple this, be a massive, massive shame. So consolidation, is this a new thing? No, it's not. If you, as I said, I'm involved in other business and we get involved in loads of different industries. This is just a few. Literally any other sector you can talk about is consolidated. I was talking to Ian earlier on, in the legal profession, consolidation, accountancy, literally any business sector you can think of in the UK has gone through consolidation. In fact, the coaching industry, you could argue, is one of the last bastions of consolidation, because it's full of privately owned businesses which are ideal. If you look at some of these other farming, traditionally privately owned businesses, if you go onto the fens in the East Anglia, literally on the fen land, which is fantastic land, farming land, you'll be shocked to find small traditional farms. They're owned by private equity firms or big conglomerate firms now. Yeah, that's what's happened within the farming industry, because life's become tougher. If you listen to the farming industry, they'll tell you that basically it's become tougher and tougher and tougher. They've been squeezed out. That's the only people to survive are the bigger operators. Dentistry, financial service, I could go on. Loads of businesses that have gone through this consolidation piece. And what the benefit is, they're getting more money than they would have got if they just sold them individually. So, who's in the market? Who are your potential buyers if you do decide to go down this road? Well, this is just a few. And London Stock Exchange, I put on there this morning, yesterday, I think there'll be an AIM-listed stock of a coach industry within 2 years in the UK. There'll be another group probably formed or put onto the market. So this is where it's going. It's getting bigger. You know some of these companies continue, but there are so many more. There's lots of bus businesses that actually are buying coach companies. Not just the big ones, but some small regional bus companies are buying because they got supported through COVID, where you could argue the coach business didn't. That's controversial, don't mean to be. And they're in a far stronger position. And I know of at least 2 to 3 deals going on at the present moment, which basically you have the situation where they're buying their local competitors and they're just growing. So this is what's happening on a local basis. You've got companies on there, put on there, blah, blah. Those of anybody know technology business, I put Zelo. Zelo, I'm sure, will say no, but companies like Zelo, who've got direct relationships with the customers, it'd be logical for them to move into the actual acquiring of coach companies like Futari have done. So this is what the change of the market is. There is going to be completely, utterly change. And don't, as I said, please, in 2 years' time, talk to me about it and say, James, you got it wrong. I feel, from my understanding, I would disagree with that. You've got blah, blah. In Europe, they are now actually acquiring coach companies. And there's a very good chance they may come into the UK and do exactly the same. And we see what Flexbus have done. Yeah, they've done a joint venture with First Bus, but the likelihood is they may actually decide to go directly themselves and acquire, because certain regions of the country, they've had it hard to cover. So there's all these things that's going on in the market. So it's quite interesting to see what's going on. So the question in the very beginning of this presentation was, is consolidation friend or foe? So I just wanted to ask you, from my perspective, what I've seen. And if we look if you're on the good news, if you are selling your business today or considering selling your business today, it is probably the best time you probably have ever had in the last 25 years to be able to sell a business. Businesses today will get a value where they probably wouldn't have got 25 years ago. And is that going to be furthermore? There's a chance that also going to be over the next 12 months, certainly, while the tax rates are where they are, there's going to be an appetite to, if you're going to sell the business now. Tax rates will make a big difference, especially for the smaller operator under the £1 million threshold. Literally doubling, 80% lift in the tax rate for those companies. So for those businesses, there's a big incentive to actually move forward. Bad operators. I honestly think, and seeing what I've seen in the marketplace, that some of the bad operators will disappear because of competition, because the standards will be lifted. And certainly we're talking about those who've got school runs and things of this nature, where historically the standards weren't necessarily so great for some operators. What we may see is an uplift because the bigger operators will be able to invest, and they'll come in and they'll tender for work. So to compete, we'd have to actually move the actual game up. Opportunities, I think there's great opportunities. The biggest opportunity which I see, which I've mentioned previously, is that the Department of Work and Pensions are looking to, throughout the UK, look at working with coach companies and bus companies to help social mobility. And I honestly believe that will be a massive opportunity for businesses going forward. So those who've got great customer service, I believe will do well. Those who not, again, it's not going to help. So looking briefly on the not so good news, the larger groups will win the contracts. I've seen it recently because they're slicker. Only if you've got something niche and really good on technology. Advanced technology itself, well, if you haven't got that technology, there's no point just relying upon the dry whiteboard in there. It's about optimization of your profits. Yeah? Councils will prefer. Why? Because it's easier to deal with a bigger group. You have to, from a procurement perspective, that's why they'll do that. The cost of selling long time will be higher. Well, from my perspective, when we're actually doing business, it's going to be more expensive because the regulation will be tougher on our business. And when we come against our competition, if they've got larger marketing budgets, and they're going to be really, it's tougher for us to work. And the prices on wages, as we've already seen, they pay more. Final slide, quick takeaways for you all. If you are thinking about it, don't just think about today. Think about tomorrow. Think about 3 years' time. Where do you want to be? If you've got a plan in 5 years' time, fantastic. But if you're uncertain today, basically, really have a think about where you want to be. Don't sign with a broker that generalizes or charges a fee and then promises the earth, but doesn't tell you the pain, because it is painful. Yeah? Speak to other people who have done it. Don't just do it yourself. Yeah, there's lots of people in the industry who now have done it. Yeah, if you're talking to accountants, a bad accountant, just like a bad lawyer, can stop a deal. So make sure you've got a good accountant, a good lawyer that's in the industry ideally, who's got experience of this, because they can help you through the actual journey rather than just hopefully get through it. Just mention the tax rates. That's a massive lift. And my final point, if you decide, you need to decide before you do anything, what do you want to walk away with? That's the end of my speech. Have you any questions?
Hello? Hello? 1, 2. We're working here. I'll come to a question in a minute. There's just one thing. I'm a journalist, and we're noted for summarising things and perhaps sometimes just oversimplifying. But what your message seems to be is, if you have a small coach company, accept the inevitable, consolidation is coming, get out now while you can. And is that a good thing?
I'm not saying that 100%. I'm saying if you are going to stay in the industry and you're a small operator, make sure you realise what's coming down the road. Don't just sit there and think that it's going to be the same as what it was 2 years ago. So there's some fantastic opportunities for the small operators in the market, and there's some brilliant businesses out there. But don't assume that it's going to be the same as it was last year, because it's not.
Be prepared for a fight. Right, yes.
Hi, James.
Yep.
We spoke earlier. It's Alex from Route One. I've got 2 questions for you on this topic. They're separate questions. The first one is, how long do you expect consolidation to be continuing at the rate that it's going? Do you see an end to consolidation where the market gets saturated?
Yeah.
And secondly, consolidation, like you've mentioned from your experiences across lots of different industries, one of the most striking for me has been in the United States with consolidation of medical care, where large private equity companies will buy hospitals. But what we've seen is there's been a negative consequence where if those hospitals do not return a profit, they are shuttered and the assets sold off. What do you feel could be the consequences for the end user, i.e. the passenger, from the consolidation of the industry?
Great questions. Well, the first one, I would argue that this consolidation is going to certainly be over the next 2 to 3 years, maybe up to 5 years. I certainly think that's going to happen. I think we'll get a stage where a lot of the major players will be involved in the industry. I don't think we're going to go down to the bus market where you have 5 major players. I think you'll have more. And I think we'll have AIM-listed companies. Coming back to the quality of the service and what happens, I think what we'll have in this industry with technology coming along, I personally believe this industry's in the precipice of growth. I think there's going to be a lot more work out there. So I think companies, there will be complete demand, certainly from what the government is saying at the present moment. And because of that, I actually think the service won't necessarily drop. I think where we've seen in the States is where the demand has dropped and costs have gone up and they've just cut. It depends on what group it is, though. But the competition should drive quality.
And so in the long run, it could be good news for the customers, for the passengers.
It could be long term, it could be.
Okay. Any one last question before we wrap up?
Yeah, thank you, James. You mentioned the legal profession. My firm, Backhouse Jones, can only trace its roots back to 1819, but I spoke to the senior partner of a law firm who could trace its roots back to 1790, and after it had got into liquidation, he said to me, it's better to sell too early than it is too late. Do you agree with that suggestion?
100%. And I honestly think that they always say a business going into liquidation, they know 3 months before. I generally think they know a year before. So my view is if you're even thinking about it, look at it, investigate it, research it, speak to your advisors, get good advisors, do it now.
And that figure there that you said, if your company's worth $1 million or less, 10% tax now could be up to 18%.
Yeah, it's 18% in a year's time.
In a year's time. Anyway, James, as ever, time has beaten us, but thank you very much indeed. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.